Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Rhoda and this is Rhoda Cards. I'm going to do a tutorial today on the Eclipse card. This is an example of an Eclipse card. This is the card that I'm going to make today. And if you see on the video, the letters are raised up off of the image. And when you hold it flat, you should be able to see the image, but you can also see the letters. And this is called an Eclipse card. So this is the card I'm going to show you how to make today. I'm not going to concentrate on the trimming of everything. What I'm going to do is concentrate on showing you how to make this raised image here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now you will need to use dies today, and these are letter dies. I don't use a whole lot of dies in the crafts that I make and the cards that I make, but for the Eclipse card you really need to use dies. These thin cuts are the block alphabet from Close to My Heart, and these are the dies that I'm going to be using today. I have a Cuttlebug, but whatever die cutting machine that you have will work with this. I will go over the measurements of the cardstock that I'm using in today's video. Your base, I'm using Craft as my base, and it is 8.5 by 5.5. I scored it in half and then folded it. I've already put the pattern paper on this particular one here, and it is 5 1/4 by 4, and I just got a Southwestern themed paper to go with the horses that I have on my card there. So I just used that, but I've already put that down, and that's 5 1/4 by 4 on the base, which is a Craft base. I also have a 4 3/4 by 2.5 inch piece of this green, which coordinates with the pattern paper that I'm using. And my focal image is 4.5 by 2 1/4. And I stamped the horses on this with a brown ink. And then we're going to put our dies on this, and you're just going to kind of put them on however you want to put them on. Now, if you want to line up the word itself, the best thing to do is to get a mat or something with the measurements on it, and you can take this mat and use it to help line up your letters where you want them. So you just kind of line them up how you want them on your image here. And I'm using the word ride just because it goes with the horses, and it's small enough to where the word fits on this image. If the word is too long, it'll go wider the image. I just wanted something to stay that wasn't too wide for my image here, and that's why I went with the word ride. And like I said, again, it went with the horses that I had. Now, what I did was I took some of this tape, and after I had put the letters down the way I wanted them, I took this tape and I put it over top of the letters to hold it down on my image. Now, you can use different things to hold your letters down. Whatever you use, make sure that it's not too tacky, because when you run it through your die cutting machine and then you pull this tape up to take the letters off, then sometimes if it's too tacky, it will rip your paper. If the sticky on the tape is too much, it'll stick to your paper, and when you go to take it off, it'll rip your paper. So be very careful on what you use. Post-it tape is the best thing to use. This is not post-it tape. This is painter's tape. And what I did with this was I took it and I put it on my clothes and took it off like a dozen times or even more to try to get the sticky off before I put it down and ran it through my die cutting machine. And a couple of times it even tore the paper. You can see the paper here on the tape. It did tear my paper. So be really careful about that. that is a big issue when it comes to doing this type of card by taping it down with that tape. So what I did was I put the ride down, I ran it through my die cutting machine, and this is what I come up with. Now when you take this off and you pull all the letters out, then you just kind of line them up to with where it goes in your picture. Make sure that you keep the pieces that go inside the letters because you're going to need those. So like here's the D and here's the piece that goes inside the D. So make sure you keep those. And here's the little piece that goes inside the R. Now, what I did was I went ahead and I glued this down. And I'm going to use liquid glue on this because a tape runner, and if you see, I stamped it on the back here, didn't like that, so I flipped it over and stamped it on the other side, and I liked this image better, but that's why you see the stamping on the back side there. But I used, this is liquid glass from Close to My Heart, and I used the liquid glue on this because the tape runner, if you use a tape runner back here, it can kind of stick through like on the letters. And that liquid glue is easier to get into these smaller areas than the tape runner is. So that's why I use the liquid glue. But what I did was I went ahead and I put the liquid glue down first. Let me make sure it's clear here. These little tops have this little piece in it that you can put inside the tip and make sure it's not clogged. So I went ahead and glued this piece down first. Put a little glue on the R and the E there. And I'm going to glue this piece down. Liquid glue also allows you to move it just a little bit when you get it down. You can move it around just a little bit if you don't have it exactly in the spot where you wanted. Then you're going to take your letters and put them in the spots where they go. The I isn't quite as important, but definitely the two that have the center pieces, put your letters in and then glue the center pieces down. So I'm going to glue, can't even see if the glue is coming out here. Maybe the tip's clogged again. Let me try. There we go. And put your glue on these little center pieces. And we're going to put them in. And with the R on there, you can see exactly where to put that piece. The same thing with the D. So we'll put the D in here. Okay, now after those pieces are glued down, we can remove the letter. And sometimes if the glue is not completely dry yet, just hold that middle piece down when you remove the R. Now the way we get that effect that's lifted up is I've been using foam tape. Now I wanted it to have a thicker base so that it pops up more. So what I did was I took my foam tape and I doubled it up. So this is my foam tape here. And I just took it like this, put it on itself, and pressed it down. And it sticks really well to itself. So you don't have to worry about it coming off. It sticks really, really well. So you just put it on itself and do that. Now I'm going to cut pieces of this off and put on the back of my letters. So I'm just going to turn all these letters over and cut these pieces of foam tape. Now some of the small pieces, I'll have to cut these in half to fit on some of them, but I'm just going to cut a whole bunch of these. And then you just take them and put on the back of your letters. Now you don't have to use foam tape. You could use dots if you have little circle dots. What you want to make sure is that they fit within the letters themselves and they don't hang over the sides. If they hang over the sides, when you put them on your card, they're going to show. And you don't want the foam to show out around it. And you can check by turning it over to see if anything shows out. And you just do this with all of your letters. And if any of the pieces show on the outside, you can just cut them off. So once you get it all around on your letters, then you can put them right in there. Now what you might want to do before you put your letters down, because that's going to make your card thicker, you might want to go ahead and put this on the card base, which I will go ahead and do. So I'm going to just take this and I just set it right down in the middle. Then we've taken all the release papers off, and then you just take your letter and set it right down in that spot. And the D fits down around that piece that's right in the middle part of the D. Then we just do that with all of the other letters. And if you have an open spot, you can always take the foam and cut off a piece, or if you're using the little circles, you can use that to put in there. I just cut this little piece off to go here in the middle of the R. And you don't have to fill in every little piece, but you do want it to sit up. If it doesn't sit up, it'll sink down and then it will look funny. And this is a good type of card to do with all kinds of things. You can use this for Christmas cards. I did a Christmas card one, and it said Noel on it. So you can do that for Christmas. You can do this for different themes. It's kind of a neat effect with the name, with the word in the middle. Get all the release papers off here and put the R down there. And while I'm doing this, I will tell you that if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up. That would be great. And if you subscribe to my channel, click the little button down below that says subscribe, and you can see all my videos as I put them out. And if you click the little bell next to the subscribe button, you'll get a notification when I upload a new video. I'm still pretty new to doing the videos, so I don't have a set schedule yet, but I'm trying to do one every week or so and doing different ones. I do like interactive cards. This one isn't actually interactive, but it's got a neat effect to it. So I thought this was a fun card to show you. If you have any comments, leave your comments below. I'd love to hear them. If you have any suggestions, maybe cards you would like to see made, I would love to have some suggestions. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, you'll see the comments, and that's where I put all the materials that I use in my cards, all the way down at the bottom in the comments. So if you like liquid glass and want to order some liquid glass, or these really cool non-stick scissors that I use to cut this foam tape, I can put that in the comments below if you're interested in that. It takes a few minutes to get all of this foam tape on here, and that's not the most interesting thing to watch. But I'm going to show you a couple of other cards that I made with this technique too. So stick around for just a few more minutes. I'm almost done with the E here. And I will show you some other cards that I made. Got one more spot here, the top of the E, or actually the bottom. And these are great scissors because you can cut foam tape with them and they don't get sticky stuff all over them. And see, that one stuck out past the E there a little bit. So there's two things that you can do. You can either move this over just a little bit so that it doesn't stick out beyond the E, or you can just cut it off. I just moved it over just a little bit. So, but you can always cut off the little extra piece there. And there is my E. And then you just put that in the spot there. Now to finish off this card, I have these two little tiny strips. And they are 5 1/4 by 1/8 of an inch. Now, you don't need to go into your paper and try to cut off 1/8 inch strips. It's really difficult to do. You can do it. But what I did was, when I trim paper down to make the bases and to make mats, I have these little strips of paper left over, and I just kept them and just trimmed them down to size, whatever size I needed. So I already have these little strips, so I didn't have to actually make them. I just trimmed them down. And again, I'm using liquid glue on these because they are so narrow. Adhesive. The tape runners is too wide to put on this. And I just put this down right on the bottom, right up against that green, just for a little extra something on here. And then I just glued that right down. And I'm going to put another one up here at the top. And that just, I don't know, I thought it kind of looked neat. And continuing with the Southwest pattern here, I just put that down. And so there's the card. There's the card. Now again, this particular type of card, this pattern, you can do all kinds of things with it. This is a good one if you want to personalize a card, which I did actually make a card personalized with a person's name. And you can do this with different names. If you have a bigger background, you could use more letters. You could use other different words. It's just kind of a neat thing that you can use for all different things. Now I wanted to show you this. This is another one I made. And I made two different ones because I wanted to show you the difference between the foam tape being doubled and not. Again, I double my foam tape up, so it's a little bit thicker. So this one, these are both the same, and it's using the same foam tape, but in this one, I did not double up the foam tape. And you can see the bloom does not pop off as much as it does when it's doubled up. This one pops up more. You can see that it's up off the sheet a little bit more. And this, I can just see it better with the double foam than with just the single foam. So I wanted to show you that. So if you don't want it to pop up as much, just use either a thin foam, or with this particular foam that I have, I doubled it to make it thicker. And some foam tape out there is thicker anyway, so you don't have to double it up. You just have the one type of foam tape that's a little bit thicker. But I just wanted to show you that. And this paper here is new paper with Close to My Heart. It's so pretty. I just thought this paper was so pretty. If you're interested in the paper or some of the other products that I've used, you can go to my website and you can order off my website. But I just wanted to show you that particular card, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it has encouraged you to maybe make an Eclipse card. So have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again with the next video. Goodbye.